Introducing from Atlantic City, New Jersey, weighing in at 210 pounds, your Italian hero, Joey Image!
Hey everybody, how you doing? Joey Image here. Welcome to episode 11 of the podcast. I want to thank everyone, as I've said previously, for downloading and or subscribing to the show. Thank you for listening to the previous 10 episodes, and thanks for listening to this one today. I want to start out really quick on a shitty note. I want to acknowledge that 10 bell salute you just heard that we opened the show with. I want to say rest in peace to Fat Frank of New Jersey independent wrestling fame. Fat Frank was the promoter and owner of Jersey All Pro Wrestling, which is coming up on its 19th year anniversary show next month. Actually, I'm sorry, not next month, November. I believe it's November 14th in Rahway, New Jersey. Fat Frank was a staple in independent wrestling in New Jersey and in the Northeast in general. But when I first got started, of course, that is a place that I wanted to work. They were drawing consistently anywhere from 1,300 to 1,600 fans, just about every show. They were outdrawing everybody in New Jersey. They were on top of New Jersey. They were on top of the independent wrestling mountain in this state. I had met Frank here and there. I mean, I'd see him here and there at shows. I never actually worked for him. We talked once or twice in like 06, 07 of me maybe doing a couple things for him. Maybe, but it never turned out. And then when I got hurt, he was one of the guys who I would speak to privately via Facebook Messenger or Facebook Inbox, whatever it's called. Would just ask me how my neck was doing, how my back, stuff like that. Frank and I had a weird relationship in person. Like we would talk, like I said, we would talk privately via Facebook or online or whatever. But in person, we had this really odd relationship where we would see each other at shows, and I've talked about this before. If you bought my Final 5 DVD, I talked about this in the shoot interview I did with Chris Decker, but as well as I believe the interview I did with the Club Kayfabe podcast, which is also included on that DVD set. But we had a weird relationship in that we would see each other at shows, say hello, how are you, how's everything going, and then we would sit, now these were shows that weren't his own shows, I'm talking about other shows. The one that comes to mind, which this happened for the longest amount of time, was a TNA show in 2009 at the Wayne Police Athletic League building in New Jersey. And we saw each other there, said hello. We actually went to the concessions together and got a hot dog or whatever. And then we stood next to each other the entire 2.5 or 3 hour show, just like literally next to each other and not saying a word. We didn't say anything to each other except for hello, how are you? Got some food, and then the other night, okay, man, good seeing you, take care. But during that week, we would message back and forth on Facebook about the show we just saw. That happened on more than one occasion, which is just hilarious to me and just so weird that we did that. Again, we would stand next to each other in person and not talk, but then see each other. Message each other on Facebook back and forth about what we watched or what show we saw the previous weekend or whatever it was. Frank also actually used to come down to. I used to do shows for South Jersey Wrestling in Toms River, which is about an hour and a half south of where I live. I think about an hour south of where Frank lived, but he would come down to those shows actually, and sometimes he would give me flyers for upcoming shows, or he would just come and say hello. I remember one time where Frank was running a Jersey All Pro show in Rahway, maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, and actually this had to be longer than that because I was still wrestling at the time. Because I remember I tried to get on this show. I was booked previously. That show was canceled, and I spoke to Frank because I wanted to get onto his show and I couldn't. But I remember going there and waiting outside for the doors to open, and Frank saw me he saw me from inside. He was in the lobby, and the doors of Rahway, there's like a doorway and then a little like foyer kind of hallway area thing, and then another doorway, and you go through that, and they're double doors, and then that is like where the big lobby is with the ticket table and concession stand. There's a couple of rooms on the left and stuff. So he saw me from inside, and he came out, and he was like, "You're on the you're on the worker guest list, just as Joey. So you don't have to wait out here. You can come on in." And I was like so grateful for that because I still I don't pay a lot to get into a lot of shows. Not that I don't offer, but generally I'm not asked. There's always been like kind of an unwritten worker rule in at least in New Jersey that workers don't usually pay to get into a lot of other shows, which I understand. And I do see both sides of it. I know there's people that still pay because they want to support the boys and the workers and the promotion. I understand that too, and I always offer. But if I'm told don't worry about it, then I don't worry about it. But this was a show that I particularly I don't, and I think the main event was, I think it was the Liger Homicide show. So whenever that was, that's when this took place. But I have previously paid to get into a Jersey All Pro show once, and then I don't know if Frank noticed that and thought it was cool of me and threw me on his guest list or whatever. But yeah, that show he came outside and said, "Man, you don't have to wait. You're on the list. Come on in." So I was always very appreciative and thankful for that. I think I bought him like a hot dog that night or something. But he was always really, really good to me. Again, I want to say rest in peace. And, when Jersey All Pro was at their peak, they were, not that they were, they were number one, but they were making everyone else strive to be number one because they had to be that much better. It's almost like when WCW was beating WWF in the ratings and WCW was doing so good, and WWF had to step up their game, not necessarily to compete, but to stay, where they were in that on top. And it's like Jersey All Pro was sort of the same way. Like they were doing so good that they made other people step up their game as well and try to get to the to their next level. So competition like that makes everybody better all around, obviously. And I don't want this episode to be a complete downer. We're going to talk a little bit of tech today. I've got some questions through Twitter that I'm going to answer, and a couple other things as well. But I just wanted to give Frank his due and say my condolences to his wife Jen and their entire family, his whole family, all his fans, every Jersey All Pro fan and worker that's been affected by this. I know a lot of workers who have worked Jersey All Pro. I've worked a bunch of Jersey All Pro guys in my career. However, again, I've never actually worked for the company, but I always wanted to. So rest in peace, Frank, and I will see you on the other side. All right, so let's get on with the show that I planned on before this unfortunate event, which only took place about 2 hours ago. I was going to talk tech. A lot of you people know that I'm not only a professional wrestler, but I'm a professional tech geek, nerd, gamer, enthusiast. So I plan on talking about that today, and I got some tweets that I wanted to address, just a couple questions. Actually, you know what? Let me just get to the first one right now from Anthony Manigoni. His question was, what was my favorite vintage tech? And that was something that I want to talk about because it's just a cool topic to me. I love old school tech, retro tech. I got started with, my first computer was a Commodore 64, that I owned, I should say. I have used, before then I had used like an Amiga and VIC-20. Jesus Christ, that's I'm dating myself there. But the first computer I actually owned was a Commodore 64. I remember my aunt bought it for me out of a Finger Hut store, which that catalog still exists. But they used to have an actual like physical store in Grand Central Station in New York City, and she bought it there. And at the time, it was just a keyboard and a disk drive. I remember I had my Commodore 1541 disk drive, and Commodore 64 was the keyboard. And it just worked off regular RCA cables, so the red, white, and yellow plugs would go into the TV. Any television at the time still had them. Many of them still do. Those red, white, and yellow plugs you see in the back. And it worked through that. And you just plug that in, and that's it. You had a computer. I didn't do a lot with it. I learned on it, though. It ran on BASIC. And it was something like 64K or something like that. That was the memory, which is insanely nothing. It's almost so small that it would be irrelevant today. But that's what I started on. That's what I learned on. Again, it ran on basic. So I would write little stupid programs for basic. 10 print Joe, 20 go to 10, run or run star, comma 8, comma 1, just to mess around and kind of learn how commands worked and command line procedure and structure and stuff like that. But really, I mean, you couldn't really do a lot with it. I played a ton of, there was obviously productivity software and video game software and stuff like that. In fact, one of my favorite games for the 64 was, two of them actually, Adventure. I don't know if you remember that. I actually played a playable online web, like, Flash version of it a couple of weeks ago. Basically, you are a yellow block, and the whole point is to, like, get the trophy from the dinosaur and then bring it back to your castle. It almost sounds cooler than it is. You were a block and you were magnetic. So you were a magnetic yellow square, and you just have to find the dinosaur. I don't remember how you kill him. I think you pick up like a knife or a dagger or something like that, which again, it's metal, so it's magnetic. And then you stab it at the dinosaur or shoot the dinosaur or something like that and kill him. And he had eaten the key. So you had to kill him, and then you, again, were a magnet. So you had to magnetically take the key from the dinosaur's stomach and then run back up to the thing and then pick up the trophy. And you could only carry one item at a time. So you had to pick up one thing and move it a little bit and then go back to the other thing and move that a little bit. And it was very time-consuming and amazingly annoying. But I was in love with that game. I played it all the time. That game and Impossible Mission. I don't remember what the Tom Cruise movie is. If the Tom Cruise movie is Mission Impossible, then the game was Impossible Mission, or vice versa. But I think the game is Impossible Mission, and I think the movie is Mission Impossible. I'm not a big Tom Cruise guy, so I've never seen any of the movies. But I loved the game Impossible Mission. I don't think it was possible to finish it. I played it for hours, and the thing about that game is when or I should say, not the thing about that game. The thing about that computer in general was you didn't just like double click on something and it ran like now. Now you double click on the Google Chrome icon and in half a second Google Chrome pops open on your PC. It was not like that at all, man. Back then you would put a disk, a 5 1/4 inch floppy, literally floppy disk, into the drive, and then you would type load space quote asterisk quote comma 8 comma 1. And that would give you the directory of what was on that disk, and then you would do load whatever the title was of the file. So, and it didn't take 2 seconds to load stuff. There was no RAM, which RAM is random access memory, meaning it's memory that holds whatever you're running at the moment, so you can consistently run. There's not a lag, or there's no interruptions or whatever. So basically, you run Google Chrome, right? So it runs the main parts of Google Chrome in RAM. It keeps everything held in RAM, so you can do whatever you're doing, and it'll just call back to that when it needs it, but it's already there and on hand and ready to go. So it's not like every time you click on something, you have to load a whole new module, and then it'll go. Because obviously you can imagine how many windows and tabs people use, how many websites people view, and how many links everyone's clicking on, and pictures and everything. All that stuff would have to download individually before just load in general individually before the website would be able to be viewed, or the web page. So you can imagine how much time that would take. That was a Commodore 64 computer. You would pop the disk in the drive, do load, asterisk. It would pop up the directory, you would do load and whatever the file name was, and then you would just wait, because there was no RAM on those computers. There was RAM, but it ran the system and that's it. So it was 64K of RAM, but it would only run the basic and the screen and the processes needed to actually get that computer up and running. It didn't actually hold any of your software. So when you would run something or load something, it would just take forever and a day to get it kind of, ready to go and up and running. The cool thing was, because it loaded everything in one shot, right off your disk, there wasn't a lot of lag or anything like that. But for example, Mission Impossible or Impossible Mission took close to 40 minutes. I don't know why I never forgot that, but there are just some things in life that you will experience or witness that you just won't forget, whether you're a part of it or not. For some reason, you just won't forget certain things. I don't know why. And to me, most of the stuff that I kind of remember is so insignificant. that I don't know why I remember it in the first place, but I remember Impossible Mission, whatever the hell it is, Impossible Mission, I think. I remember this game taking like 40 to 45 minutes to load, and I couldn't wait. I loved this game. And if you are a owner of a Nintendo 3DS or the 3DS XL, they actually make a updated version of Impossible Mission for that handheld. And I believe, I don't know if it's on an unlockable or if it's just part of the regular game. There's just like an option on the main menu or whatever, but you can actually play that original Commodore 64 version of the game on this 3DS version. I actually have it. I haven't played it yet. I got it a couple of weeks ago off of eBay. It was like, I think it was like $4.99 or something like that. But I'm definitely looking forward to checking that out, and hopefully that'll be soon. So I guess I'm going to go with my Commodore 64 as my favorite vintage tech because, again, that is the seed, that was the planted seed that started my love and passion for technology, and watching it grow and watching it evolve and improve, watching all these kind of upgrades and stuff happen over time. So I guess I'd have to say that would be my favorite vintage tech item. And speaking of tech, remember my Windows 10 nightmare? Well, guess what? Here's the story. I got a laptop from my girlfriend's sister. First of all, it's pink, so I had to cover it in stickers, so now the pink is barely visible. But it had a Windows 7 on it. She couldn't figure out what was wrong with it. Something was going on. She said, you know what, I'm just going to either trash this. She's only had it about 2 years. She said, I'm going to trash this thing, or I'm just going to bring it to like the recycling center in her town and let them do whatever they do with it. So I said, give it to me. She knows I'm a tech computer nerd or whatever. I can fix a bunch of stuff like that. So I said, why don't you give it to me, and I'll take care of it. I'll fix it. I'll do whatever needs to be done, blah, blah, blah. I'll check it out. I will replace whatever needs to be replaced and fix stuff. And then if you don't need it, I'll just keep it. But if after I fix it up, if you want it back, let me know, and no problem. So she's like, well, I already bought a new one, so just, keep it if you fix it. So she gave it to me. It had a Windows 7 on it. Worked fine. I don't know what she thought was wrong with it because it worked fine. It was missing one key. That's all, like the slash key, not the backslash. The regular slash key was missing. So I bought a new one online for $4 and replaced that. Now that works. But there was nothing wrong with it with Windows 7. I had it for probably 2 or 3 weeks and used it like that with no problem. I mean, I didn't put anything on it. I don't really know what I'm going to use it for yet because I have my desktop. I don't really need a laptop, but it's there. So if I do decide I need it or I want it for something, then I've got it right there. But I mean, it's not a necessity. So anyway, used it on Windows 7 for about 2 weeks, and then the little gimmick popped up on the bottom right saying upgrade now to Windows 10. And I instantly thought of my nightmares with my desktop, but at the same time, there was literally no software on the laptop except for Windows 7. So I figured, what, I'm not going to lose like when on my desktop during that debacle, I lost 2 hard drives, which I ended up having to format. I mean, I got them back, but they were bricked, and I formatted them, and now they're good. But again, the only thing on the laptop was Windows 7. So I figured if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I don't lose anything. So I did the upgrade. 15 minutes, it was done. Everything was good. There's, of course, a bunch of Windows updates that I needed to do. But I went through, I did that. I did any hardware updates it needed, any software updates, anything for Windows, all that stuff. I set up, did all the settings. I made sure everything was working good. I went into custom settings so as not to leave all the Windows default settings where Microsoft handles your default programs and stuff like that. For example, it'll make Microsoft Edge your default browser unless you tell it not to, and then you make something else your default. So I did that, and everything was good. It worked for about 2 days, and then one day it would just not boot up anymore. It wouldn't restart. I forget, and I think the last thing that I did before this happened was a Windows update. So there was some kind of Windows 10 update that I guess it thought it needed, I don't know. But I did updates, and it wouldn't boot up. It wouldn't start up, and it wouldn't do anything. I would turn the power on. It would give me it's an Asus laptop, so it would give me the Asus splash screen with the logo, and then blank screen, nothing. Eventually, or not eventually, sometimes it would give me a blank screen with the mouse pointer working, but most of the time it was just a blank screen with nothing. I mean, I could tell the screen was on because the screen obviously is backlit, so I can see it. But other than that, it wasn't doing anything for me. I figured there must be something wrong with the hard drive, obviously, software issue, hard drive. So I popped the hard drive out, which is a whole nother debacle on its own. Put it in my desktop. I've got an external USB enclosure with, not an enclosure actually, it's more like a docking station with 2 USB ports in the front, USB 3.0, a card reader in the front, and a hard drive slot, which I had an external, it was an internal 4 terabyte regular spinning drive. I had that in there, which I was using for my Plex library. So I popped that out. I popped in the drive from the laptop, and it wouldn't work. It would read, or it would, actually, I don't know if it was reading. There was activity, which I could tell from the light on the front of the enclosure. Obviously the blinking means there's something going on. So it would blink constantly, but it would never actually do anything. It wouldn't pop up in Windows Explorer as another drive or anything. It's got an on-off switch on the docking station. So I figured maybe I need to shut it off and turn it back on again and see if that kind of resets its connection. And I tried that, and that didn't do anything. Although when I shut it off, I finally got, it would pop up in Windows Explorer where it lists all your hard drives. It would pop up as drive letter S, but it wouldn't actually say, it's a 320 gig hard drive, so it wouldn't actually say 300, because it's got a certain amount for system use. So you're only allowed 300 out of the 320 gigs or whatever it is. But it never actually said 300 gigs free of 320 or 290 gigs free, whatever. Nothing like that. It just popped up and said local disk S, as if Windows didn't know what it was, just knew that there was something there. So, and again, this is only when I turned it off. When I turned it back on, that stayed there, but then the window froze. I just kept trying and trying. Eventually, it popped up and it worked. It let me right-click on it to get the drop-down menu. I hit format. I formatted the drive. I figured I'll format it. I'll throw it back in the laptop, and I'll just reinstall Windows 7 and leave it as is. Which that of course didn't go smoothly either. But I don't know if I can even blame this on Windows 10. But it was the only thing that I had changed anytime recently with this computer. So I put it back in the hard drive. Put it back in the laptop. It didn't give me anything. It would turn on again in a blank screen. If I waited 5 to 10 minutes, it would pop up the Windows 10 Windows logo, the little the 4 squares or whatever, and it would say attempting to repair a computer. And then I didn't understand this because again I had just formatted the drive. So how did it even know that Windows 10 was previously on it? I had no idea. So it would say attempting to diagnostics, attempting to repair a computer. That's what it was. It would run diagnostic tools, stuff like that. And then after that, I don't know, 2-3 minutes, it would go back to the blank screen with the mouse pointer working. So I looked online. I went on Twitter, asked a couple questions. A buddy of mine, Kevin, at KT Data on Twitter, reminded me, which I knew, but it's been a while, reminded me that Windows 10 actually keeps a separate partition on the drive specifically for system use, for boot sector stuff, root partition, stuff like that. So when it booted up, or when I attempted to boot it up, I guess, because it didn't really get that far, it must have read from that boot sector on that partition and thought, okay, Windows 10 is on this. Let's get going, and it did its little attempting to repair thing, and then because there was no actual operating system on the main partition, it didn't know where to go after that, so it just stopped. And this is, I know the technical terms for a lot of this stuff, but I'm trying to use layman terms. I realize not everybody is as technically inclined as I am, as it pertains to PCs and Windows and operating systems and boot up and all this stuff. So just for people that may not understand all the terminology, I'm going to use layman terms, and that's not not to call people stupid. It's not everyone's cup of tea. This here computer stuff. So I talked to Kevin, and he gave me a couple of utilities to download on my desktop to plug into the laptop to attempt to get this working. Now, what I got, I don't remember the names of the two utilities, but they were basically just to wipe out the entire drive, including that previous boot sector partition, so the drive will be fully blank, so then I can install whatever I want on it. So I did that. I used both of those utilities. The first one had a couple of errors. The second one worked. So I did that. I tried to boot Windows 7 back onto this machine. I tried to install it back on this laptop. It wouldn't work. It kept telling me Windows cannot. First of all, it would list the two partitions for me. So there, in fact, was a partition of a system boot that I deleted. Windows 7 created a new one for it to use, as well as separating it from the rest of the drive, making a separate partition. One, obviously, for the actual operating system. One just for all the boot sector stuff, the startup stuff. And that is what it couldn't read. So when I tried to install Windows 7, it told me Windows cannot be installed onto this drive. And the thing that it told me that kind of tipped me off to what the problem was it said, this drive may fail soon. I don't believe I've ever seen that on a hard drive before. And as I told Kevin later on Twitter, I have two hard drives in my desktop PC right now that I've had one for approximately 8 years and one for probably about 5 or 6. They're both spinning drives, not SSDs, but they both still work perfectly. And again, they're in my computer right now. I still use them today. So it's surprising to me that this laptop drive, which once I popped the drive out and looked at the sticker, I saw that it was manufactured on May 19th, 2012, which is not Kane of the WWE's favorite date. Maybe that's why the hard drive died, because it was born on May 19th. But 2012 was only 3 years ago. I don't feel like a drive should die that quickly. And I'm talking about completely gone. I couldn't do anything with it. Windows wouldn't let me install it, Windows wouldn't let me install onto it. So I pulled the drive out again, put it into that external dock that I have one more time, went into Windows, and this time it wouldn't read it at all. Before, at least it read it enough to let me format it. This time it wouldn't read anything. It would come up with a drive letter S, but I couldn't click on anything. I couldn't right-click to get the drop-down menu with properties and format and all that stuff. I couldn't get any of that stuff. I tried for 7 or 8 minutes, and finally I gave up and just figured, hey, this drive is dead. I can't do anything with it. Luckily, again, there was nothing on it anyway, so I didn't lose anything. But, it's gone. So what I did was I have 2 SSD drives in my PC that are blank. I installed them and just haven't used them for anything. So one of them is I think it's a 230 gig, something like that. So I popped that out from my desktop, threw that in the laptop. It was already formatted, so it was already blank. I threw it in the laptop and popped in. I have a USB stick that's got all the Windows 7 install and setup and all that stuff on there. So I popped that in, threw in this hard drive, booted up, went right into Windows 7 install, no problems. Got through everything. So now Windows 7 is installed on this machine. I've got all the service packs and the updates and all that stuff. I always do the Windows update first when I install a new operating system. So I've got all that done, everything, and now it's running smoothly. Again, I bought that missing key that was on the keyboard. I replaced that. Again, I swapped out the hard drive for a good one. So essentially what I've got now is a brand new laptop. I, again, don't know what I'll do with it, or what I even really need it for, but I will definitely keep it. I'm a computer freak, geek, tech nerd guy, so any computer I can get my hands on, I usually keep and try to figure out what I can do with it. I've got another computer that my girlfriend's brother gave me a couple months ago that was just sitting at their house. Actually, my girlfriend gave it to me, but he hasn't used it in years and didn't need it. And she asked him if it's okay if I take it, and he was like, yeah, give it to him, I don't need it. So it's been sitting in their house for years. There's 2 of them, actually. One of them didn't have a hard drive in it, so I couldn't even do anything with it. And I'm not going to put one in there. It's so tremendously old, it's really not worth doing anything with. But I do have a second one that now has Windows 7 on it also. It was an old XP machine. It's got like, I think 2 gigs of RAM, something like that. Very small hard drive, maybe 100 gigabyte hard drive, something like that. And I'm going to throw in, what I did was I threw a universal, what do you call it? Like a wireless Wi-Fi adapter. It doesn't have a real name, doesn't have a brand name. I'm just calling it a universal adapter because I don't have a brand name for it. I got it on Geek. If you go to wish.com/m/geek, you'll see the website I'm talking about. It's really an app on the iPhone. It ships from, it ships stuff out of China. It's all very, very inexpensive items that you can also get a lot of here for much more money. But my girlfriend and I buy stuff off this website or this app all the time. So far, everything that we've gotten works except for one crappy little Bluetooth shower speaker, which is garbage, but it was $4, so big deal. But they ship stuff, from China. Again, it's super cheap. I've gotten stuff on there like this wireless adapter. There was a very similar one on Amazon for, I think it was $39.99. I looked on Geek and I got this one for $11. So, and it works perfectly. It comes with a 3-foot USB cable, so I can put it, it doesn't need to be, it's not like it's a USB stick where it has to be plugged in all the time. I have, I could plug it in 3 feet away. And it works great. I mean, super strong signal, so I put that on that machine, and I networked it with my computer. So what I'm going to do is that 4 terabyte hard drive I mentioned earlier, I'm going to take that out of my PC once it's filled, and I'll just use it as a Plex server, which, if people don't know what Plex is, it's almost like a video/music streaming, I don't want to say service because it's not something you pay for, but think of it as like a personal Netflix, except you're connecting to my actual computer. So you connect to my computer with all videos that I have, and you can watch them streaming off my PC. So I'll probably end up using that computer just for that. Just so if anything does happen to my desktop PC, I don't actually lose any of that media. Any of those files, videos, music, whatever, that I put on my Plex, I won't lose any of that if something happens to this, obviously, because it'll be on a separate computer. So I figure that's probably the easiest and best way to do it, as opposed to right now, which has got everything in my PC. So if I were to lose that, if something were to crash or whatever, it would be a major pain in the ass to get it all back to normal. And anyway, moving on. One last tech thing I want to talk about, and then I will wrap this up for this week. And again, like I've said in the past, I try to do one show a week. I would do at least one show a week. I ended up doing like 6 in the first 2 weeks. So now I've slowed it down a bit to 1 to 2 a week, which is I think where we're going to stay. Preferably 2 a week, but I understand sometimes I'm going to have prior obligations and can't do everything I want to do. For example, this week, this is already the 4th podcast I've done this week, and I've got one more tonight. So I want to move on to one really quick other tech-related issue. Actually, I shouldn't say issue, not an issue, just a tech-related subject, and that is the brand new Apple iPhones that are coming out tomorrow. And I'm only bringing this up because I just got an email about it. I did the pre-order on the day they came out, or the day the pre-order went live, which was 2 weeks ago. Tomorrow being the 25th, which is their release date, and the pre-order was on Friday, September 11th. So it was like, it was midnight Pacific time, California, Cupertino time, but 3 a.m. our time. And what I did was, I'm always up at 3:30 anyway. I don't go to bed till maybe 3 o'clock. Anywhere between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. is when I go to sleep lately. So I was already up. So I hopped online. I got through to the AT&T website, which is where I did the pre-order. I know a lot of people did it on the Apple website. I got through on Apple.com as well, but the thing is, Apple no longer does all the same deals and programs and whatever you call them, benefits, I guess, that the actual carrier does. So I'm on the AT&T Next plan, which means I don't pay for the phone outright, but every month I pay an extra like $40 in my bill towards the cost of the phone, and then I pay it off, after 20 months, I think it is. It's all paid off. So what I actually can do though, like the upgrade option is just for shits and giggles, say the phone is $12 and I pay $1 a month. So that's 1 year to pay off the phone. And say I pay $6 and then I want to upgrade to another phone. All I have to do is pay off the remaining balance. I don't have to wait the extra 6 months to upgrade. I can upgrade right now, but I have to pay off the remaining balance in one shot, which is fine. But on top of that, the other benefit is I don't actually have to pay that off with cash. I can trade in my current phone. So instead of paying whatever the new iPhone costs, I just trade in my phone and I get the new one at the same price. My plan stays the same. My bill stays the same. And what they do is, because I traded in this phone, or because I'm trading in this phone, they forgive the remaining balance on it. So again, say it's $12 and I paid $6, I still owe another $6. If I trade my phone in, they forgive that $6 balance, and my plan and my bill, continue as they were. So, not a bad deal. And I'm grandfathered in with unlimited data because I was a customer beginning in 2007, June 29th, when the first iPhone was released. So I don't, I will not stray from that plan. I use far too much data for it not to be unlimited. And the cool thing about the unlimited data is AT&T used to text me, or text its customers, once we got around 5 gigabytes of use. Even though it's quote-unquote unlimited, if you use too much of it, they would throttle your speed, which is obviously bullshit, but that's what they would do, to get you to kind of use less data, or just to slow it down, so you wouldn't use as much so quickly. I don't know. They have some kind of cockamamie story how it's supposed to be for the customer's benefit, blah blah blah, and I personally think that's bullshit. But that was 5 gigs. Then it went up to 9.5 gigs, and I would get a text saying, "You're rapidly approaching 10 gigabytes of use. We're gonna slow your speeds, blah blah." But they just increased that to 50 gigs, which is no one's going to use 50, unless you're running the Pentagon from your cell phone. I don't see anyone using that much data every month. I use a lot, but I use maybe 6 gigs to 9 gigs, something like that. And I just use it for streaming audio. The advent of Apple Music has not helped people's data bills, obviously. But stuff like that, or like Periscope streaming, like obviously I use Wi-Fi at home when I can, but when I'm out and about, I use LTE, which again is data. But good for me that I have unlimited data, so it's all right. It's not a problem. And the couple of times that I have been throttled, it really hasn't affected me all that much. I can still hear whatever music I'm streaming and watch whatever video I'm streaming. It just slows it down in the sense that if it's something like that, like a streaming audio or video, it may buffer a little bit more to kind of load more into the memory, but I'm okay with that. So I don't notice a huge difference. But I wanted to talk about the new phones because the reason I primarily bought a new iPhone, and I wasn't going to initially, I was going to wait for it to come out, physically release, and then go to the store and play with one. Because last year I didn't do that. When the 6 and the 6 Plus came out, I got the 6 Plus actually, I didn't get it on launch day. I got it about a month later. I did the pre-order, and I just didn't get it in the first shipment batch. So I had to wait for the second batch that shipped out, and that was about a month later. And I used it for a little while, and I didn't like it. I thought it was too big. I couldn't do a lot of stuff with one hand. It was just big and bulky, and not what I wanted in a new phone. But I bought it anyway. I figured the big size screen would be good for YouTube and video games and stuff like that. And I knew I wanted to do the YouTube thing, so I got it. And now that I've had it for a year, I love it. I still think it's a bit big. And I was going to go with the smaller 6S when I got the pre-order a couple weeks ago. but just out of instinct, I went for the larger one and just for the bigger screen. And again, you guys know I do a lot of YouTube stuff, so it's easier to see on that screen, of course. So I figured, why not? I'll just stick with what I have. I have the 5.5 inch as opposed to the 4.7, which is the 6 and the 6S. And the 6 Plus and the 6S Plus are 5.5s. Plus, I mean, I have like 7 or 8 cases already. I have a bunch of screen protectors, so all that stuff already fits on my current phone. So when I get the new one tomorrow, I can just put that stuff right on that phone and I'm good to go. I don't have to buy any new accessories, any new cases. The screen protector I have slides right off of my phone and goes right back on the new phone. So everything that I already have will be good with the new phone, so I won't need to spend any extra money. So I'm happy with what I bought. I got the silver 128 gigabytes iPhone 6s Plus, which again, just like last year when I did the pre-order, I got into the second batch, not the first batch of shipments. The first batch of which is arriving tomorrow, which is the actual launch date. The second batch, I'm told, delivers between October 16th and October 23rd. But here's the catch. I got an email this morning saying your order has been shipped and will be delivered on the 25th. So I got a tracking number. It is good. It's FedEx. It is good for tomorrow. And the new phone will arrive tomorrow. So somehow I got bumped up to the first tier. I don't know what happened. But I got bumped up to the first batch of pre-orders. And I will have my phone tomorrow. So again, I'm going to pop the screen protector off of my current 6 Plus. Pop the case. I have a little case with Super Mario in the back. I'm going to put that on that, and I will be fine. Won't have to spend any extra money. I've already got accessories and stuff. I might hit the Apple Store this weekend and buy that new dock that they have, but otherwise, I'm good to go. Don't need to buy anything. Don't need to borrow anything from anybody else or take any hand-me-downs or anything. I am all set to get started once the phone arrives. So I will log in iTunes, do the activation. Spoke to AT&T about it. Within about a week, I should get the box. I can ship back my current 6 Plus, which is in mint condition. I baby these phones as if they were my own child. So it's in mint condition. I'm going to send it back. They will. And I owed like $400. It was $427 I owed on the upgrade. Once the phone was paid off, it would have taken that much more money. So when I did the pre-order, they told me, hey, you still owe $427. Either you could pay this off right now and buy the phone outright, or you can trade in your current phone, and again, they'll forgive the balance. So it was like a $40 upgrade fee or something like that. I think it was $40 for the upgrade fee. So it took me down to like $380-something that I owed. So I agreed to turn in my current 6 Plus, erase everything, send it back to them. They actually mail you a box to mail it back in. They mail you a box in a box to ship it back, which is kind of funny to me. I could drive 5 minutes down the road and just drop it off at an AT&T store. But anyway, so I will have it tomorrow, and I will be. And the new camera does not only do 1080p, 720p, it does 4K, which is insane to me. So this new phone will be the only 4K display I have. So I'm going to be watching a lot of 4K content on it, not a lot on my TV. In a few months, I will have a 4K television, though. I already got it picked out. But right now, it's not in the cards. So this will be the only 4K display I actually have. So once I have this phone, I'm going to be probably doing a lot more video just to check it out and see what it looks like. But enough of boring you guys. I will let you go now. It's been about 45 minutes. I hope you all have had a great week. I hope you had a good weekend last weekend. I hope you have a good weekend this coming weekend. A lot of stuff going on. Tonight I've got to do another podcast, like I said. Friday night I will be at a wrestling show in Brooklyn supporting my boy TJ Marconi as he and Stockade team up against Kevin Nash. Saturday night, Park Ridge Pro Wrestling in Park Ridge, New Jersey. I'll be there also, helping out my boy Eric Alvarado, taking care of some stuff for the show. Again, not wrestling again, as you all know, I'm retired, but I will be at these shows to either support, help out, whatever I could do. Please hit me up on Twitter, at JoeyImage, Facebook.com/RealJoeyImage, and you can hit me up privately at JoeyImage@gmail.com. Thank you all for listening. Again, rest in peace, Fat Frank. We love you, brother, and we'll see you on the other side. Take care, everybody.